give you a complete overview of what exactly is Veeam backup and replication all about. Later on, we'll be talking in details about different components of Veeam backup replication, architecture, how's the workflow, and things like that. And lastly, we're going to talk about a few tips and tricks for job planning and how to resize or how to size up your repository while you start your backups. So first of all, Veeam is a completely agentless solution, so which means that you don't have to install any agent inside a virtual machine for backing up any applications running inside your virtual machines, unlike any traditional agent-based application. The way it backs up is it will basically take an image level snapshot, and all your applications running underneath that virtual machine will be backed up under the same snapshot. So the core product of Veeam, what you get is Veeam Backup Replication, which is designed for virtual environment, and the hypervisors that are supported is VMware vSphere and Microsoft Hyper-V. So this is a cool product, and let's say if you have a huge environment when you're using Veeam Backup Replication, obviously you need something to monitor your virtual environment. So what you get apart from Veeam Backup Replication is a Veeam One software that's where you can manage your virtual environment, like capacity planning, everything. And you also get a Veeam Management Pack, which can basically, if you have a SCOM in your environment, you can take help of Veeam Management Pack to get a complete detailed reporting and capacity planning and a lot many things to do with that. If you're looking for, okay, there's a question. Okay, guys, just a quick note. I won't answer the questions while we are in the session. Please make a note of your questions. If you have any questions, I'll definitely get back to you at the end. Okay. Okay. So coming back. If you want a combination of Veeam Backup Replication and a reporting tool as well, you have options like you can go with Veeam Management Suite. You also have another options that Veeam Essentials, which also has a combination of Veeam One plus Veeam Backup and Replication. But having Veeam Essentials, you can only go up till 6 sockets. You cannot scale up your environment if you're using Veeam Essentials. So just for this matter, if you have a huge environment, more than 6 sockets, you can go with Veeam Management Suite, which gives you a combination of backup replication and Veeam One, which is a reporting tool. So that's the best one you can go for. Okay, so let's take a look at components. What are the different components of Veeam? Okay, so this is a basic installation of Veeam wherein you can install Veeam on a Windows machine or running Windows OS. It can be a physical machine or a virtual machine. So let me go ahead and start my annotation just quickly. So this is my Veeam Windows server. I install the application and this becomes my Veeam backup server. Now by default, it also acts as a default proxy server and default repository server. Now, default repository, well, first of all, repository is nothing but a kind of a storage or piece of a storage where you'd be saving your backup jobs to. And repository is nothing but a component which is basically responsible for processing your data and moving your backup traffic and sending the data back to the repository. So the default repository is always created on C:\backup folder. So I can, if I have a very small server, I can just install the application and start running my backups from that point onwards. It's very simple. But now, if you have a huge environment, if you're trying to scale up your environment, you have Veeam server, you install the application. So this server basically also acts as a proxy and a default repository. Now, apart from that, I probably need to deploy a few more proxies. The reason being, proxy gives you a proper workload balancing wherein you can distribute your workload to dedicated proxies and ensure your backup server is not loaded. Okay, so if you have like a couple more proxies created, you can just delegate your jobs to this proxies and this proxies, and you can ensure your backups work in a smooth flow. And in case in any of your proxies goes down, you still have the couple of 2 proxies which can continue to run your backup jobs. And again, repository is also, you can create a separate repository. Now, since Veeam is storage agnostic, you can use any kind of a storage for that matter. You can use your existing SAN or NAS or direct attached storage, CI fishers, or even for that matter, you can back up your data to a USB drive. Well, creating a proxy or repositories is a very simple task in Veeam. All you have to do is you just have to, if you want to make a machine as a proxy server, it has to be a Windows machine. It can be a physical or a virtual machine. So all you have to do is just create a new proxy and add the IP address of the machine which you want to make a proxy as, and just complete the installation wizard. That's all. No software has to be installed. And configuring a repository is again the same thing, just you have to create a new repository and point to your destination. That's all. So it's very simple and easy to use and quite user friendly as well. So basically, let's take a look at Veeam Backup Server. There are different components and service which gets installed and which are responsible for running your backup job. So let's take a look and detailed architecture into what are the different components. So when you install the application, the server becomes Veeam's, Veeam Backup Server. Well, the components running inside the Veeam Backup Server are the backup service, the backup shell, the catalog service, and your SQL database, which is kind of a central repository for all your jobs and everything. So Veeam Backup Service is kind of a windowed service that basically coordinates all the operations which are performed by Veeam Backup Replication, such as your backup jobs, your replication, recovery verification, and restore tasks. So Veeam Backup Service runs the administrator account with the logon as a rights granted. Backup Shell provides the application user interface and allows users to access the application's functionality. That's all. When it comes to catalog services, it's again a Windows service that basically manages the guest OS file system, indexing for virtual machines, and replicates the system index data files to enable search through your guest OS files. Now, indexing data is stored in the Veeam catalog folder on the Veeam server. So there's a folder created on a Veeam server itself. That's a catalog folder. All the information of your indexing will be stored in that particular folder. Veeam Backup SQL Database. Now, this is used by Veeam Backup Service, which we see at the top. Now, Veeam Backup Shell and Catalog Service to store data about backup infrastructure, my backup jobs, the sessions, and all these informations. So the database instance can be located on a SQL server installed either locally, like on the same machines where the Veeam Backup Server is running, or you can also have a remote SQL installation, like a remote SQL instance for that matter. Okay, so that's about the backup server. Now let's take a look at requirements. What do you need for making installing the application to make it a backup server? But moving with version 7, it has to be a 64-bit processor because Veeam version 7 no longer supports 32-bit version. It has to be Windows OS like 2000 at SP2, 2000 at R2, Windows 7 SP1, or Windows 8, Windows 2012 server, anything. In terms of memory, you need 4 gigs of RAM plus 500 MB for per concurrent task that is running. You need 2 CPUs and a 2 GB of disk space plus 1 GB per 500 virtual machine for your guest indexing. So this is a requirement what you need for installing Veeam on and making it as a backup server. Okay, so next thing is the proxy, which we had seen earlier. Like proxy is a component basically. Well, proxy is nothing but it's an architectural component which basically sits between the data source and target, and it's used to process your jobs and deliver your backup traffic. So in particular, the backup proxy task includes you're retrieving your virtual machine data from your production storage, later on compressing and deduplicating that data and sending back to my backup repository. Now, it again has a few components inside, which basically helps the proxy to help work. So these two components, what it needs are a Veeam installer service and a Veeam transport service. Now, Veeam installer service is kind of an auxiliary that is installed and started or on any kind of a Windows server once it is added to the list of managed server inside Veeam Backup Replication console. Now, this service will analyze the system, installs and upgrades necessary components, and depending on the role selected by the server. Now, Veeam Transport is basically responsible for kind of a deploying and coordinating the executable modules that acts as a kind of a data movers and which would perform main job activities on behalf of Veeam backup replications, such as communicating with the VMware tools, taking a snapshot, copying the VM files, performing data deduplication, compression, and so on. So that's about the proxy components or the Veeam transport service, which resides under the proxy. Here are a few requirements for creating a proxy. So you need a 32-bit or 64-bit Windows with latest service pack. You need 1 CPU per concurrent task and 2 GB RAM plus 500 MB per concurrent task. So these are a few basic requirements which you need to make a Windows machine as your proxy server. Okay, now coming to the repository, like I said, repository is nothing but a piece of storage where you're saving all your virtual machine images. And since Veeam is storage agnostic, you can use any kind of a storage, right, from your NAS, SAN, or DAS, or CIFS shares, USB drive, anything. So for storing data at the job level, it performs a job level deduplication. And supported platform is Windows. You can run the vPower service on it. If it's a Linux, it probably doesn't have vPower. It requires Windows repository to act as a server. Now, vPower is nothing but a technology by Veeam, which will basically give you features like instant VM recovery, where you can restore your failed virtual machine in just a few minutes. You don't have to wait for multiple hours and sit until your recovery is completed. It also gives you other functionality like sure backups, universal application item level recovery, and things like that. If it's a CIFS shares, you don't have any agents, which basically require helper agent on the proxy. It doesn't have vPower, so you basically need a Windows repository to act as a server. Okay, so these are the requirements for the repository. Okay, so this is another feature that's backing up from a SAN snapshots. So basically, if you have devices like HP Virtual Store, 3PAR, StoreServe, Veeam can gives you a feature, or rather offers you a feature called backing up from your SAN snapshots. So backup from a SAN snapshots basically lets you dramatically improve your RPOs and reduce the impact on your backup activities happening on the production environment. Backup from storage snapshots is supported for HP Store Virtual Storage and HP 3PAR Store Serve Storage systems as of now, and is available for data protection in the VMware vSphere environment. The backup from storage snapshot technology lets you leverage the HP SAN snapshots for virtual machine processing and would basically speed up your backup and replication operations. Well, the procedure that happens for backup and replication from storage snapshots is like Veeam backup replication first triggers a VMware snapshot of your virtual machines whose disks are located on the HP SAN storage. And later on, the Veeam backup replication triggers an HP SAN snapshot on a volume residing or volume holding the virtual machine and the VM snapshot. The VMware snapshot on the original HP SAN volume is immediately deleted after following process. To backup and to replicate virtual machine data, Veeam backup replication acts as a cloned VMware snapshot which now resides on the HP SAN snapshot. And as a result of which, the VMware snapshot exists for a very short time, just probably for a few seconds. So this will basically help you to, uh, perform your backups, or this is how the backup for SNAN snapshot will work if you got like HP Store Serve or HP 3-part Store Serve appliances. Okay, so let's take a look at tier architecture. Uh, as you see on the top, there's a Veeam backup server. You have a couple of proxies running, and there's a repository in the middle of the screen. So once I trigger a backup jobs, the proxy would go and talk to my host, get the information of all my virtual machines which needs to be backed up. It will take a snapshot, it will process my data like performing compression deduplication, and post-processing that data will be stored on my repository. Okay, so this is my repository on all my backups will be stored first of all. Now I also get an option to have a kind of a secondary copy to another repository, or I can copy the same backups to my tape. So Veeam version 7 offers native support for tapes as well, where you can move your backups from disk to tape. So it's a D2D to T. So initially we'll be running my backups to disk, and then from disk I can push it to tapes. Backups to tape, it supports any kind of a virtual tape library, tape libraries, and standalone tape drives. Regarding till it has a proper Windows driver and it's showing up in my Veeam server, everything is good. You can have any make and model for that thing. In version 7, you also get another feature called backup jobs, where you can move your backups from your primary storage to your secondary storage, and you can retain using GFS policies like grandfather father son policies, and you can retain your data for n number of hours depending on on your compliance thing. If you want to save your data for n number of years, you can save it according to it on a secondary storage using backup copy. So these are the few options which you get in version 7. Remote copy is again the same thing if you want to move your backups from one location to another location. So it's again from one disk place to another disk place, but in a different locations. You also can use Veeam backup jobs or Veeam backup copy jobs using WAN accelerators. So basically WAN accelerator is kind of a component which will speed up your processing and moving your backups copy from your primary storage to secondary storage, which is running in a remote location. So this is about remote copy. So let's take a look at what exactly is WAN accelerator. Well, WAN accelerator is nothing but just another Windows role which basically requires no special network setup. Basically, storing backups offsite has like always been a challenging thing, because you need to move a large volume of data between your remote sites. And as an administrator, the most common problems that we face is like having insufficient network bandwidth and transmitting redundant copies of a data again and again. So to just come over the situation, Veeam backup replication offers WAN acceleration technology that would basically help you to optimize your data transfer moving over the WAN. So being a built-in feature, Veeam's WAN acceleration does not add any kind of a complexity and cost to your backup infrastructure, and the best part is it still does not require any agents. Well, technically speaking, WAN accelerator adds a new layer in the backup infrastructure between my Veeam transport service, which is running on my source backup repository, and the Veeam transport service, which is running on the target backup repository. Now, to enable acceleration and deduplication technologies, you must deploy at least a pair of WAN accelerator in your backup infrastructure. So like one WAN accelerator running at my source site, which is close to my source backup repository, and the other one kind of deployed on the target side, which is again close to the target backup repository. Now it is designed, as you see, it's designed for 200 Mbps bigger connection, which will benefit in bandwidth savings and will also not saturate your line. Well, WAN acceleration is only available for only in the Enterprise Plus edition of Veeam Backup Replication. So that's important. Okay, so that's about WAN acceleration, and the requirements for having WAN acceleration is you need a 64-bit processor, minimum 2 cores, 8 gigs of RAM, and 50 GB of hard drive for WAN acceleration cache. That's for per pair, running on each site. That's my source and my target individually. Okay, so this is a central management thing which normally if you have a huge environment wherein Veeam is deployed across multiple sites. So as an admin, you probably would like to have a central console from where you can sit at one office and you can monitor all your backup jobs, run your backups or run your replication job sitting at one site. You don't have to go and travel to each and every location. Just to serve this purpose, what we have done is we also get an optional component that's Veeam Enterprise Manager Server or the Enterprise Server. Now this component is again a part of installation package itself, so that's the reason we say it's an option. If you have Veeam servers running across multiple sites, you can install this on any of your server on any one of your site and just federate all the servers which are running across different backup sites. So basically having Veeam Enterprise Manager, what it does is basically federates all the servers which are running across the different sites into itself and gives you proper centralized management and reporting of all the servers with the help of web interface, okay, to like Internet Explorer. Now the best part is you don't have to install license keys on each and every site which is where the Veeam is running. All you have to do is install one license key on the Enterprise Manager. So let's say on site A I'm running like one ESX host having 2 physical sockets, and this one has 2 physical sockets. So all I need in total is 4 sockets or 4 licenses. So you get a key of 4 license keys which gets installed on this server, and that key will be applied to all the servers running across your entire infrastructure. So that's the best part. You don't have to go and configure everything individually on each side. Just install everything on the Enterprise Manager and it's all set. You can run your, you can also, it also gives you certain reporting tools like if you want to, fetch a report of all the virtual machine backup which has been completed, let's say for example in a week's time, or the last day backups, and all my virtual machines involved in that job as well. So you can do that using that Enterprise Manager. It also helps you in finding for your guest OS file systems which has been backed up along throughout your backup infrastructure from all your Veeam servers. And you can also perform one-click restore using that. Okay, let's take a look at job planning. So what you have in job planning is in version 7, you get new feature that's called the parallel processing of your virtual machines. So starting with Veeam Backup Replication version 7, multiple virtual machines and virtual machine disk can be processed in parallel, which will basically optimize your backup infrastructure performance and will also help increasing the efficiency of resource usage, like each data processing task within a job requires one CPU core. To use these capabilities, the proxy server should meet certain system requirements. Like for example, each task requires a single CPU core. So for every 2 tasks that you want to run on a single proxy in parallel, you at least need 2 cores minimum. That's the requirement for parallel processing. Okay, so that's about parallel processing. Now, sizing your repository. Now, generally, many of you might come across a question like, I want to back up my virtual environment. I have like 5 TB of data in all. How would I size my repository? Is there any calculation, or is there any magical formula that can help me size my repository? So the answer is yes. If you're using Veeam, there is a quick formula or a magic formula that can probably help you in sizing up your repository. So basically the formula says it's your backup size is equal to C into like F into data plus R into D into data, where data is, as you can see, sum of processed virtual machine size by a specific job. C would be my average compression deduplication ratio. Now this is just a conservative. We are talking about 50%. It might vary. So if you're backing up like your file servers, you might get compression and deduplication ratios more than 80 to 90% as well. That's what you have seen actually in the real-time environment. And if you have like database, a huge database, you might have a little lower compression, but on a conservative level, you have 50% for sure. So F would be the number of full backups in the retention policies. So let's say I want to retain my backups jobs for like 14 days. So that would be the number of full backups. That's the F. R is the number of rollbacks or incrementals according to the retention policies. Now 14 is by default. You can, however, go ahead and change that when you configure your backup jobs. And D is the average amount of virtual machine disk change between cycles in the percentage of 5 to 10%, like average amount of changes happening on a virtual machine. So this is a formula which can basically give you a fair number or a good number to size up your repository. So this basically helps in giving you approximation when you do run a first full backup and you want to size up your repository. Okay, so that's the thing, and okay, so probably that's the end of the presentation, where it's a Veeam. We call it the modern data protection, which is built for virtualization, powerful, easy to use, and affordable. And well, that's the end of our presentation. So now if you guys have any questions, just please feel free to come up with your questions. So we'll be spending a few more minutes in the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please come up with the questions. Okay, there's one question in like, in case of Veeam backup replication, do we need to manually pause Hyper-V guest running database such as SQL or Exchange to keep the snapshot in a consistent state? Well, the answer is no. You don't have to pause your guest machines running inside your Hyper-V because Veeam leverages VSS to ensure you get a consistent backups. So there's no need of manually going and stopping or pausing your VM guest virtual machines running inside your Hyper-V. It can we can take a backup of your virtual machine even if it's an active machine, since it leverages VSS for application-aware backups. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, just feel free to come up with your questions again. I'm just waiting for some questions to be answered. Okay, there's a question that's, what is vPower? Now, vPower is nothing but a technology developed by Veeam, which will basically gives you features like performing instant virtual machine recovery, when you can boot up your failed virtual machine or restore your failed production virtual machine in a few minutes straight away from your compressed dedupe back to file. It will be presented to my host. So actually the entire process just takes a few minutes, or ideally you can say the time what you need to reboot a machine, it's the same time what you need to recover that failed virtual machines. Apart from that, you also get features like Sure Backup, which is automated verification of all your backup jobs to ensure you have good backups in case you want to do any restores in case of disaster. You also get features like universal application item level recovery, which can help you restore any a single item from any application or database. Even for that matter, you can restore single item from your custom applications as well. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, please, come up with your questions. And if you don't have any questions right now, you can have just jot down my email address. You can reach out to me anytime later on as well. That's on the screen. It's rahul.shinde@veeam.com. You'll also get more information on Veeam blogs. You can just go and visit Veeam, www.veeam.com/blogs and /forums.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, Webinars Made Easy.
Okay, I don't see any questions coming in, so I will assume that we are good at this point. So, guys, if you have any questions later on, please feel free to email me across with your questions, and I'll try my best to answer your questions as soon as possible. Okay. I'll just probably spend 2 more minutes to see if there's any questions coming in. So if you don't have any questions, I would assume everyone are okay right now. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me anytime. Okay, guys, since there's no questions, once again, I would like to thank you everyone for attending today's session, into deep dive session for Veeam backup replication. If you guys have any questions later on, just reach out to me on my email address. We will definitely be happy to help you. And once again, wish you guys you have a good day ahead. Thank you. Bye.